So my name's Alex Williams and I'm the founder of the online animation school Animation Apprentice, and I'm also the head of animation at Escape Studios, and I teach the online MA in 3D animation at Bucks New University. And on all the courses where I teach, the most important thing is to develop a proper workflow for animation. So the secret of good animation, what is the secret? I mean, this is a question that people often ask. The secret of good animation is all in the planning. And I've been an animator for 30 years, roughly, working in the industry and also teaching. And I can still remember the light bulb moment when I understood the process of planning animation, like how you actually go about planning it. And it wasn't until I got to Disney and I saw some handouts from Glenn Keane, who gave out some handouts on The Lion King on how to time out and plan animation. And he called the handout a system for planning and timing animation, and that was the moment when it all came together. So how does it work? What is the secret? The secret is planning, and there are about 7 steps you have to go through in order to make great animation. The first step you have to go through is to really think about it. This is a step that everybody likes to skip. The thinking stage, where you think about it and you try and see it in your head. You try and imagine it as a kind of, as a movie in your head. And then the next thing you can do, which is really important, especially if you're animating human bipeds or humanoids, is to act it out. And to do that, that is so much easier than it used to be. Back in the old days of video, big fat video cameras, you needed to find a studio tripod and it was always broken, and the video camera battery was dead because no one had plugged it in. It was a pain in the neck. Now you can just use your smartphone, as I'm doing here, recording this video on a tripod that I bought for £13 on Amazon, and you can record your own video reference. You can get that reference into Maya, and you can use that. You put it on an image plane and you can use that to plan your animation. So that's the second thing. Film yourself, act it out, figure out what the big acting beats are, and use that for your animation. Now the third thing, which I always do, I have to do this in order to do good animation, is to thumbnail. And typically I will actually shoot my live action reference first and then copy the thumbnails, or rather in the thumbnail stage, copy the live action, but make it more dynamic, right? Because the trouble with live action, it tends to be a bit soft, a bit floaty. If you just copy it straight, you get this very floaty, rather lifeless kind of rotoscopy feel to your work. But if you find the extreme poses in your live action and you do thumbnail sketches of it and make them more extreme, find the line of action and make them more dynamic, then you're going to find all your key poses for the shot. And once I've really worked on my thumbnails, and I like to work on an A4 piece of paper. A4 is about right for thumbnails. That's letter in the US, or they're roughly the same, and that gives you enough space. And then I like to, once I've figured out my thumbnails, I do a little kind of aspect ratio box, kind of like that, around the thumbnails that I like, and then number them, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. So I know which are my key poses, and I've also got a number. I've figured out the timing. Like one pose is at frame 25, another is at frame 49, another is at frame 65, wherever those key poses are going to go. And that's when I start to do poses in Maya, but only then. The key thing is you want to figure this stuff out long before you start doing poses in Maya. If you're doing poses in Maya but you haven't figured out the shot yet, that is where your trouble will begin. And certainly in my experience, I've never really been able to plan stuff while I'm working on it. So the analogy that I like the most is it's like building a building. If you're building a house, you're not just going to start putting bricks on the ground, right? You're going to go to an architect, you're going to come up with a plan, and you're going to do it. You're going to decide, what's the building going to look like? Is it going to be 18th century France? Is it going to be Scottish baronial? Is it going to be Gothic? What's the house going to look like? And you put those plans down, you figure out those plans, and then you build the house. You don't design the house while you're building it. Lots of junior animators do that. You just start blocking out poses and you're essentially designing the house while you're building it. You really don't want to be doing that. So that's why shooting live action reference, figuring out your thumbnails and really working at the thumbnails. If you don't like your thumbnails, just keep working on them. Do more thumbnails. I often have to do 2 or 3 passes on my thumbnails before I'm happy with what I've done. And once I'm really confident in my thumbnails, once I know where the shot is going, that's when I know I can start animating, because then all I have to do is execute the architectural plan. and I know that my poses will be strong, and then it's just really execution. But the secret of animation, the real secret of animation, it's all in the planning.